Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India. News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Munmun Bhattacharya. Coming up in the next hour. Donald Trump names campaign manager Susie Wiles as his White House chief of staff, signals a seismic shift in policies by suggesting he will talk to Vladimir Putin. US President Joe Biden pledges peaceful transfer of power, urges Americans to bring down the temperature in contrast to Trump's refusal to accept 2020 defeat. United States stocks close higher after Fed Reserve cuts interest rates by a quarter point. Chief Jerome Powell says election results have no near-term policy impact. Zelensky addresses European leaders, says it is unacceptable for Europe to offer Kremlin concessions. European leaders stress self-reliance on security. Cuba slowly restores power after Hurricane Rafael leaves 10 million people in the dark. US President-elect Donald Trump has announced his campaign manager Susan Wiles to serve as his White House chief of staff. It is Trump's first major appointment since winning this week's election, entrusting a top position to a political operative who helped him win the election. Wiles will be the first woman to serve as a White House chief of staff. Wiles is a long-time Florida-based political strategist and is viewed as trustworthy and has got plaudits for helping to manage Trump's successful run for the presidency. Trump chose Wiles over former House of Representatives Speaker Kevin McCarthy, a California Republican who is close to Trump and has been a frequent visitor to Mar-a-Lago.
Appreciation for Susie and Chris, the job you did. Susie, come here. Come here, Susie. Chris, come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The Ice Maiden, we call her the Ice Maiden. Come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay in the background. She's not in the background. Come here, Susie.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has appointed Ambassador Stephen Mull to coordinate the transition to Donald Trump's administration on behalf of the State Department, though the State Department has not yet made contact with the Trump transition team. Spokesperson Matthew Miller said that Blinken intends to use his remaining time in office to make tangible progress on a number of critical issues, including on competition with China, ensuring Ukraine is in the best possible position for success, and bringing an end to the fighting in Lebanon and Gaza.
Over the past 2 days, Secretary Blinken has been meeting with people from across the department to discuss the work ahead of us over the next 74 days between now and January 20th. In those meetings, he has emphasized 2 points. First, the peaceful transfer of power is an essential element of our democracy that is vital to our nation's security. That's why it's so important for us to conduct a smooth, efficient, and professional transition process. The Secretary has appointed Ambassador Stephen Mull, a distinguished member of the State Department family, to coordinate these efforts on behalf of the department. Ambassador Mull will work with the President-elect's team to ensure as successful a transition as possible.
U.S. President Joe Biden has said in an address to the nation from the White House that he will ensure a peaceful and orderly transition to Donald Trump after the Republicans' sweeping election win. Biden urged Americans to bring down the temperature following Donald Trump's election victory and sought to console fellow Democrats who were alarmed by the former president's stunning comeback. Biden said Tuesday's election had proven the integrity of the U.S. electoral system and said he would preside over an orderly transfer of power.
Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature. I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity of the American electoral system. It is honest, it is fair, and it is transparent. And it can be trusted, win or lose. I will do my duty as president. I'll fulfill my oath, and I will honor the Constitution. On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. President-elect Donald Trump indicated that they were ready to hold talks after the Republican tycoon emerged as the victor in the race for the White House. Putin congratulated Trump and said Moscow was ready for dialogue with the Republican president-elect. Trump also revealed that he was prepared for a conversation with Putin. So signaling has happened from both sides, and Trump said he had spoken to probably 70 world leaders since Wednesday morning, but revealed that he had not yet spoken to Putin. Further, Putin praised Trump for handling himself during an assassination attempt at a rally. He said Trump turned out to be a courageous person at a discussion club in the Russian Black Sea resort of Sochi.
If any of them want to resume contacts, I have always said, and I want to say it again, we have nothing against it. As you wish, let us resume contacts and hold discussions. Well, there are many who want to hold discussions. There is a whole room here. So if not, we will hold our discussions with you. We are.
TTN correspondent Shubhendu Ghosh now joins us live from Washington, D.C. for more. Shubhendu, good evening to you there. Donald Trump has begun assembling his team. We know he has named Susie Wiles already. She was, of course, the de facto manager of his victorious campaign, and now she is going to be the White House Chief of Staff, the first woman to hold that influential role. What more are you picking up on Trump's incoming team?
Good morning to you, Munmun. Yes, Susie Wiles is the first name that has come across, Chief of Staff of Donald Trump's new administration. And we see the reason why she's rewarded. He also spoke about her during his address just after winning the historic elections. He'd spoken about some of her qualities. She works behind the scenes, doesn't like limelight. In fact, even when she was encouraged to speak a few words, she just sort of recluses herself. Those are the kind of candidates he would be looking for, people who are loyal, people who can deliver, and people who do not seek limelight. Donald Trump has learned his lessons from his first term, experiences with people like John Bolton, Jeff Sessions, and others. He would now want to weigh his options between picking people who are part of the current legislature, or would he want people who are outsiders, who are political outsiders, business people, but most importantly, the common characteristic he would be looking for is that they have to be absolutely loyal to his leadership, given also the kind of win that he has secured this time over. As we hear, his teams, Donald Trump's team, they're vetting a number of candidates, and soon more names are expected to be announced. Meanwhile, Elon Musk and Robert Kennedy Jr., these are the two high-profile names that are doing rounds. For Robert Kennedy Jr., Trump had spoken about in the health sector, there could be an important responsibility lined up for him. We did see in the run-up to the elections and voting, Robert Kennedy Jr. did clear the way for Trump in a manner that he secured a historic win as we saw it. So in that sense, we yet to hear more names with clarity, but the vetting process is on. President Joe Biden has also spoken about in the address today that his team is in touch with Donald Trump's, and the transition process will happen quickly and smoothly in the best possible manner. So in that sense, the balls are rolling, and more development, more names expected to be announced soon. Manmohan?
Right. Shubhendu, also, Putin has congratulated Trump on his victory, and he said that he's ready to have discussions with Trump. Can we expect some groundwork then for an opening soon for some productive talks on a Russia-Ukraine ceasefire deal?
I think it's a hugely important development. When those talks take place, there are some speculations that because there is still a lot of time before Donald Trump's inauguration, more than 2 months, there are some sources informing that these talks between Putin and Trump could in fact happen before his inauguration as well. The possibility of that we'll have to wait and watch. But this is a significantly important development given that the talks between the present regime, the Democrat, between President Joe Biden and President Putin had broken down completely. A great gap had come about, particularly due to the Ukraine conflict. We also saw America emerge as the leading investor in the Ukraine conflict, both in terms of aid and arms supply to Ukraine. A number of overtures by the Russian leadership, by Putin, for talks, for negotiations, were also turned down earlier this year by Biden's administration, saying that they do not see much merit in the words and intentions of Vladimir Putin. In that sense, there is a history of camaraderie between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. And Donald Trump's election promise of getting America out of the conflicts, which are in fact drawing a lot of resources from America into these conflicts, whether it's Ukraine war, whether it's in the Middle East, it would be an important step. And he would like to come across as speaking to both the sides, both Russia and Ukraine. And any talks between Russia and America, between Putin and Trump in this regard, could be a very important first step towards any possible end to the Ukraine conflict. One more.
We leave it at that. Shubhendu Ghosh reporting from Washington, D.C. The U.S. Federal Reserve on Thursday slashed interest rates by 25 basis points amid cooling inflation and a weakening labor market, marking the second rate cut in this easing cycle. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell told reporters on Thursday that the U.S. Central Bank has no near-term plans to change policy following the outcome of this week's election. Upon asking if he would resign when asked to leave early by President-elect Donald Trump, Powell clearly gave a no. Powell said the labor market has cooled and remains solid while the inflation has eased substantially from a peak of 7% to 2.1%. as of September.
So let me say that in the near term, the election will have no effects on our policy decisions. As you know, many things affect the economy, and anyone who writes down forecasts in their job will tell you that the economy is quite difficult to forecast looking out past the very near term. Here, we don't know what the timing and substance of any policy changes will be. We therefore don't know what the effects on the economy would be, specifically whether and to what extent those policies would matter for the achievement of our goal variables, maximum employment and price stability.
European leaders met on Thursday in Budapest after Donald Trump's election victory, expressing a shared realization, and that is Europe must take charge of its own security. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, speaking after the summit with over 40 European leaders, underscored a critical shift. He said, and I quote, "We cannot wait for the Americans to protect us." Well, this gathering of the European political community saw leaders weighing varied options, but ultimately finding common ground, and that is a call for Europe to act independently to ensure its peace and security.
There was an agreement that the American election results should be reacted to. We need to know that big changes are coming and we need to react to it. There was an agreement that there should be peace in Europe as soon as possible. There was an agreement that Europe should assume greater responsibility for its own peace and security in future. To put it even more bluntly, we cannot expect Americans to be the only ones to take care of us.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says it would be unacceptable for Europe to offer the Kremlin concessions to halt Russia-Ukraine war. Speaking to European leaders at a summit in Hungary, Zelensky blasted those who are urging him to give in to some of President Putin's demands and urged Europe and the United States not to loosen ties following the election of Donald Trump.
In the European Political Community Summit in UK in July, there has been much talk about the need to yield to Putin, to back down, to make some concessions. And really some, even from Europe, some leaders were strongly advocated Ukraine making concessions to Putin. It's unacceptable for Ukraine and unacceptable for all Europe.
The European leaders said that they would work with an incoming Trump government on transatlantic issues and security despite political differences. European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen, who attended the meeting of 50 European leaders in Hungary's capital, said that their previous experiences of working with Trump would offer a base to build on their ties. Norway's Prime Minister made a similar statement calling for addressing large political issues.
So we will be working with the new Trump administration in a good manner and look at what is ahead of us. I have some experience to working with President Trump from his former mandate, so there's something to build on. And I think very important is that we analyze together what our shared interests are and work with that.
Well, that's a dialogue we have to start right away, and we do. I believe that now Ukraine, when there are soldiers from North Korea in Russia on the way to Ukraine, there is Iran involved, China involved. This is dead serious for Ukraine, but it is also a large political issue that the US has to address fully. And I think it's something we have to work with the US to say that this is really affecting our values and we have to cooperate on it. And that's a critical issue.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. White House says US will keep up aid to Ukraine. Japan's parliament prepares to choose a new prime minister. And 3 charged over singer Liam Payne's death in Argentina.
As our ecosystems change, we not only need to amplify our efforts to save them, but we also need to adapt our lives.
Today, everything grows here. At an altitude of 5,000 meters, we grow mushrooms, strawberries, watermelon and tomatoes. It's been made possible by the introduction of technology.
It's like with stocks. You diversify your portfolio to minimize risk. That's what we're trying to do with the mixed forest too.
People's mindset is changing in favor of electric mobility, and I see huge success in the future as well.
Same eelgrass is one of the most important elements in the ecosystem along the Baltic Sea coast. It produces oxygen and provides habitat for smaller fish.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Munmun Bhattacharya. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday that if Ukraine did not remain neutral, then it would be used against Russia. But he also said that Moscow was ready for talks on a way to end the conflict based on the realities on the ground.
If there is no neutrality, then it is difficult to imagine the existence of any good neighborly relations between Russia and Ukraine, because this means that Ukraine will be constantly used as a tool in somebody else's hand and to damage the interest of the Russian Federation. Thus, the basic conditions for normalization of relations will not be created. On the contrary, we are determined to create conditions for a long-term settlement, and so that Ukraine finally becomes an independent sovereign state and would not be a tool in the hands of third countries.
Further, Putin said that he did not want Russia to go back to the path it was on until 2022, that is before the conflict.
Russia is following its own path. I hope it will not turn away from the path of following its national interests. But of course, it needs to be integrated. We have never refused this, but I would not like Russia to return to the path it followed until 2022. And this was a path that was associated with such a hidden, veiled intervention against our country, aimed at subjecting it to interests of some other countries that believed that they had the right to do so.
The White House has said that the United States will keep surging aid to Ukraine ahead of Democratic President Joe Biden's transfer of power to Republican President-elect Donald Trump in January.
We're going to surge and get that out there to Ukraine. We understand how important it is to make sure they have what they need. And so that hasn't changed. That is no different. And so we're going to surging that aid to Ukraine. We have taken action to strengthen Ukraine's air defenses and enhance their battlefield capabilities. And so we are committed.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said on Thursday that UK's support for Ukraine remains ironclad on the sidelines of the European Political Community Summit in Budapest.
I've just come from a meeting with President Zelensky, and it was an opportunity for me to repeat and affirm our ironclad support of Ukraine. And the broader point here in Hungary at this meeting has been that this isn't just about the sovereignty of Ukraine, although of course it is about that. It's also about our freedom, our democracy and our values.
A day of hectic political developments in Germany as the country faces political turmoil, a day after Chancellor Olaf Scholz sacked his dissident finance minister. The next report examines the contours and magnitude of the political crisis that Germany is facing.
Germany is facing political turmoil on Thursday, a day after Chancellor Olaf Scholz sacked his dissident finance minister, ending the ruling three-party coalition. Scholz said that he is going to call a confidence vote by January 15 that will lead to elections by the end of March.
In the very first week of the parliamentary session in the new year, I will call for the confidence vote so that the Bundestag can then vote on it on January 15th. That way, parliamentarians can decide if they want to pave the way for a snap election. That election could then take place at the latest by the end of March.
But all major opposition parties are putting pressure on Scholz to seek a confidence vote now, paving the way for elections by January 2025.
There is absolutely no reason to wait until January of next year to ask for a vote of confidence. The traffic light coalition no longer has a majority in the German Bundestag.
According to the German constitution, a chancellor can seek a vote of confidence in the Bundestag to confirm whether they still have the support of the lower house of parliament. If the chancellor fails to win the majority, then they can ask the president to dissolve the parliament within 21 days. Elections must be held within 60 days.
The German Chancellor has declared that he will call a vote of confidence in the Bundestag. This is the way in which Parliament can pave the way for new elections.
But Scholz is already facing calls from the CDU-CSU alliance to hold a confidence vote immediately.
The
right thing for our country would be an immediate confidence vote and new elections. In a democracy, nobody should be afraid of the voters.
But the coalition has long been facing bitter infighting on a wide range of issues, from immigration and climate to budget woes, as well as reviving the ailing economy. Months of discord finally came to a critical point after crunch talks at the Chancellery that ended in Scholz's surprise sacking of Linda. Bureau Report, DD India.
Speaking on the sidelines of the European Political Community Summit in Budapest, Hungarian FM Peter Szijjártó said on Thursday that he hoped for stability in Germany after Chancellor Olaf Scholz's coalition crumbled.
Germany is our #1 trading partner. We have a trade volume about 60 to 65 billion euros annually. Now putting together our trade volume altogether is around 270 billion. So you can imagine the extent to which we are interested in stability of Germany. So on one hand, politically, we could formulate here different kind of sentences, but from the national perspective, from our national interest perspective, I say that the stability in Germany is definitely our interest.
Japan will elect its new Prime Minister at a special parliamentary session that is expected to begin next Monday, that is the 11th of November. Lawmakers will vote for Prime Minister on the first day of the session, which is slated to last 4 days. The need for election came after the ruling party suffered a major defeat in October 27th lower house election, in view of which current Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba and his ruling Liberal Democratic Party and leader of the largest opposition party, the Constitutional Democratic Party, Yoshihiko Noda, are calling on smaller parties for support. A party leader must secure majority support in Parliament to become the Prime Minister. If neither exceeds that threshold, then a vote will proceed to a runoff, and the candidate who secures the most votes will secure the post. Weather updates now. Hurricane Rafael tore through western Cuba, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Power was restored to parts of Cuba on Thursday, a day after Hurricane Rafael swept over the island, leaving its 10 million inhabitants without electricity. The storm, with fierce winds and torrential rain, damaged countless homes and a local stadium and uprooted trees across the region. The hurricane had spun off westward into the Gulf of Mexico, where it no longer posed an immediate threat to land. Over 22% of crude oil production was shut in the U.S. Gulf of Mexico due to the hurricane. California is engulfed in wildfires burning in the U.S. state. Weather authorities issued a red flag alert that described the situation as particularly dangerous, prompting evacuation orders for over 10,000 people. Helicopters and over 800 firefighters have been deployed to combat the wind-driven blazes. California's wildfires have so far this year burned more than 3 times as much land as last year at this time, when the state's fire season was more benign. Let's now take a look at some other stories making news around the world. Peruvian National Police presented its security strategy for the upcoming APEC summit in Lima. Over 20,000 officers will be deployed for the event on permanent service, including an emergency squad, said the head of Peru's Police Emergency Division, Colonel Percy Guerra. The APEC summit, scheduled from the 10th to the 16th of November, will see participation from 21 countries, including the United States, China, Canada, and Russia. 3 people have been charged in relation to One Direction singer Liam Payne's death in a fall from his Buenos Aires hotel balcony last month. The ex-One Direction singer's death shocked the world and raised questions about how he had fallen. Argentine authorities said the singer consumed cocaine, alcohol, and a prescription antidepressant before falling to his death from a Buenos Aires hotel balcony last month. Still to come on DD India News Hour. India slams Canada for blocking Australian news outlet that aired Dr. Jaishankar's press conference, says it highlights Canada's hypocrisy on freedom of speech. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address election rallies in poll-bound western Indian state of Maharashtra. And more on the elaborate festivities of Chhath Puja in honor of the sun in India and overseas. Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Munmun Bhattacharya. Donald Trump, a recap of the headlines. Donald Trump names campaign manager Susie Wiles as his White House chief of staff, signals a seismic shift in policies by suggesting he will talk to Vladimir Putin. US President Joe Biden pledges peaceful transfer of power, urges Americans to bring down the temperature in contrast to Trump's refusal to accept 2020 defeat. US stocks close higher after Fed Reserve cuts interest rates by a quarter point. Chief Jerome Powell says election results have no near-term policy impact. Zelensky addresses European leaders, says it's unacceptable for Europe to offer the Kremlin concessions. European leaders stress self-reliance on security. Cuba slowly restores power after Hurricane Rafael leaves 10 million people in the dark. India has reacted strongly to reports that Canada blocked Australian news outlet airing External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar's press conference. India has said that such actions highlight Canada's hypocrisy on freedom of speech.
We've also seen that we understand that the social media handles and pages of this particular outlet, which is an important diaspora outlet, has been blocked and are not available for viewers in Canada. This happened just an hour or so, a few hours after this particular handle carried the press conference of External Affairs Minister along with Penny Wong. And the particular media outlet also had several articles on the visit of the External Affairs Minister, as also an interview of External Affairs Minister. So we were surprised. It looks strange to us, but nonetheless, what I will say that these are actions which yet again highlight the hypocrisy of Canada towards freedom of speech.
During his Australia visit, which ended on Thursday, Jaishankar met Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and also co-chaired the 15th Foreign Ministers Framework Dialogue with Wong. We get you this detailed report.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar visited Australia from 3rd to 7th November 2024. During this visit, Dr. Jaishankar attended a number of events. During his meetings with CEOs and business leaders in Sydney, the minister underlined the ongoing transformations in India in digital infrastructure, manufacturing and skilling.
We've done less than 150 days of the third term, but even in this period, we have made we've taken some very big calls. Among the calls which might be of interest to you, one is to set up 12 major industrial zones across India with a view to attracting global manufacturing and promoting domestic manufacturing. Secondly, to double down on the infrastructure spending because the infrastructure investments are still primarily driven by government spending. Three, a big focus on human resources development, on skills.
Dr. Jaishankar also met with Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on November 6th in Canberra. They discussed ways to deepen the bilateral comprehensive strategic partnership between the two countries. On November 5th, Dr. Jaishankar co-chaired the 15th Foreign Ministers Framework Dialogue, or the FMFD, with Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong in Canberra. The leaders reviewed entire gamut of bilateral relations, including political and strategic, defense and security, trade and investments, education and mobility. At the Raisina Down Under 2024 session in Canberra, Dr. Jaishankar spoke about India's priorities in the Indo-Pacific and opportunities for greater collaboration with Australia and New Zealand. India's External Affairs Minister also inaugurated the Consulate General of India at Brisbane in Australia. The new consulate in Brisbane is India's fourth in Australia, alongside the existing consulates in Sydney, Melbourne and Perth. Fuzail Ahmed reporting for DD India.
Meanwhile, on the second leg of his two-nation visit, Dr. Jaishankar is visiting Singapore, beginning which he met Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Trade and Industry Gan Kim Yong. Both leaders discussed taking forward contemporary India-Singapore partnership with a focus on industrial parks, green energy, skilling, innovation and semiconductors. During the visit, Jaishankar will address the 8th roundtable of ASEAN-India network of think tanks. He will also meet the leadership of Singapore to review the close partnership between the two countries and explore avenues to further enhance the bilateral relationship. Ahead of Maharashtra's assembly polls, political heavyweights from Delhi are descending on the state for one last voter outreach before ballots are cast. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address two election rallies in Dhule and Nashik today. Meanwhile, Bharatiya Janata Party leaders discussed the campaign strategy for the upcoming Maharashtra and Jharkhand assembly elections, including the by-polls in several states at a meeting in the national capital on Tuesday. The voting in Maharashtra is scheduled for the 20th of November, while Jharkhand will vote in two phases on the 13th and 20th of November. The votes for both assembly elections will be counted on the 23rd of November. In a move to strengthen India-Bhutan ties, an immigration checkpost at Daranga land port in Assam's Tamulpur district was inaugurated on Thursday. Located just 700 meters from the Bhutanese border, this 14.5 acres facility is designed to boost regional connectivity and economic growth. Assam's Governor Lakshman Prasad Acharya and Bhutan's Prime Minister Dasho Shering Tobgay attended the ceremony. With its strategic location near National Highway 27 and Bhutan's enhanced customs infrastructure, the new ICP is set to streamline cross-border travel and trade, promoting prosperity in the region. The 4-day Hindu festival of Chhath Puja culminates today. During the festival, devotees honor the sun for bestowing a long, healthy and prosperous life on them. Its unique rituals involve praying to the rising and the setting sun while standing in a body of water. It begins with a 36-hour fast after a meal of chapati and rice pudding, and during the fast, devotees keep off drinking water. The festival is observed 6 days after Diwali. The major Hindu festival has recently traversed beyond India. The Indian diaspora in the United States, the United Kingdom and other countries have taken the celebrations to foreign shores. Donning vermilion on their foreheads, Indians abroad say that they feel great to be able to follow the rituals and keep the family traditions alive far away from home.
Celebrating Chhath here for over 5 years now, and from the first day, Kattu Bhat, Kheer Roti, and today we have enjoyed it a lot, and we're going to have a lot of fun together.
Now let's take a look at some other stories making news. President Draupadi Murmu will address the Central Vigilance Awareness Week function in New Delhi on Friday. This year, the week will be observed from the 28th of October to the 3rd of November with the theme Culture of Integrity for Nation's Prosperity. As the festive season wraps up, Indian Railways is set to run 164 special trains starting Friday to help passengers return to their destinations. Over the next 3 days, around 476 trains are scheduled to accommodate the post-festival travel rush. Indian Coast Guard Chief Director General S. Paramesh called on Union Home Minister Amit Shah and briefed him about the vital role played by the force in protecting national maritime zones, law enforcement at sea, pollution response and SAR operations. The meeting also emphasized on ICG efforts towards self-reliance and indigenization, highlighting the importance of cooperation among armed forces for robust coastal security. Still to come on DD India News Hour, South Africa clashes with India in 4-match T20 series from today in Durban. Real Madrid forward Kylian Mbappe to not be part of the French squad against Israel and Italy in the Nations League games. Senegal's president attends opening ceremony of the latest edition of the Dakar Biennale African Contemporary Art Exhibition.
स्वागत आहे टू मैग्नेटिक महाराष्ट्र.
Live to Singapore, where India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is speaking at the 8th Roundtable of ASEAN-India Network of Think Tanks.
New domains and technologies that hold such visible potential. Both India and ASEAN are today more focused on realizing the value of green hydrogen and green ammonia. We are preparing for an era of electric mobility, green shipping and green steel. Our businesses will have to adjust accordingly. The digital world also opens up new possibilities as we all seek to collaborate to establish more payment platforms, data centers, and semiconductor facilities. The international economy is also contemplating changes that go beyond just technology. The unevenness of the spread of talent and the availability of skills is today actually a very significant concern. It will be felt even more as we enter deeper into the knowledge economy and the requirements of AI. The solutions lie in devising greater mobility, both for human resources and for enterprises themselves. These understandably have socio-political consequences, but will be key to remaining competitive. The increase of global capability centers, which are almost nearing 2,000 now in India, will be a continuing trend. Such mobility can be optimized only if we invest in the training and preparation of skills. This will be increasingly important for our partnership. Connectivity is another domain that merits attention. The post-1945 economic growth centers have naturally created new logistical demands. They are also correcting the distortions and the disruptions of the colonial era. Recent conflicts and extreme climate events have only underlined the case for new connectivity initiatives. Where India is concerned, the trilateral highway to the east, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, IMEC, and the International North-South Transport Corridor, INSTC, are major commitments. Understanding their implications is key to exploiting the opportunities they could present. Digital and energy connectivity have also been the subject of recent conversations, especially between India and Singapore. At the end of the day, collaborative connectivity will always be used better and regarded more positively than unilateral ventures. India and ASEAN are major demographies whose emerging demands can not only support each other but become larger productive forces in the international economy. After all, together, we account for more than a quarter of the world's population. Again, as Minister Vivian pointed out, our GDP is similar, and you are among our $100 billion plus trade accounts. Our consumer demands and lifestyle choices are themselves major economic drivers. They will also shape the scale of services and connectivity as we promote trade, tourism, mobility, and education. The magnitude of our endeavors has a resonance that is far beyond the immediate domain. Our collaboration can also be crucial in addressing contemporary challenges. In an era of extreme climate events, ensuring food security is a major concern. Similarly, with the experience of global pandemics, preparing for health security is no less vital. There are lessons even from the recent past on both accounts. There are and there will be political challenges in our shared regions that we will also have to address together. A prime example today is the situation in Myanmar. The interests, and I dare say, perspective of those who are proximate will always be different. We do not have the luxury of distance or indeed of time. This is increasingly the case for HADR situations as well, as also of maritime safety and security. A stronger culture of self-help will only arise by putting our heads and our hands together. The bonding between India and ASEAN is rooted in a deep cultural and civilizational connect. Nurturing that has a value in itself. In recent times, India has contributed to heritage restoration and conservation of art forms. Taking that forward is certainly helpful to promoting deeper people-to-people understanding. So, ladies and gentlemen, the India-ASEAN partnership, now in its fourth decade, holds immense possibilities. We have been an enthusiastic participant in all ASEAN-led forums. Additionally, our bilateral and trilateral engagements have contributed to our closeness. The Mekong-Ganga Cooperation, MGC, and the Indonesia-Malaysia-Thailand Growth Triangle, IMT-GT, are making their impact felt as well. As the Indo-Pacific evolves, India has been expressive in its support for ASEAN's centrality and cohesion. We see it as an indispensable pathway as well as a meeting ground. We have been equally clear about respect for international law, rules, and norms. Both in approach and substance, our convergences have only grown over these last 4 decades. As we look ahead, this is a foundation from which we can aspire to higher ambitions. Thank you for your attention.
There you heard India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar addressing in Singapore, where he spoke on how India and Singapore can collaborate closely on tackling contemporary challenges in the Indo-Pacific region, namely climate change, maritime safety and security, and humanitarian assistance and disaster resilience. Time now for all the sports action. South Africa begin a 4-match T20 international series against India at Kingsmead, Durban on Friday following their defeat in the T20 World Cup final by the visitors over 4 months ago. The teams have undergone substantial alterations compared to those that completed, in fact, in Barbados, where India secured victory with a 7-run margin. The South African side will be without key performers from their World Cup campaign, including pace bowlers Kagiso Rabada and Anrich Nortje, spinner Tabriz Shamsi and wicketkeeper batsman Quinton de Kock. India's squad features only 4 players from their World Cup winning team as the majority prepare for a test series in Australia. The remaining players are captain Surya Kumar Yadav, Hardik Pandya, Akshar Patel and Arshdeep Singh. Coach Didier Deschamps revealed Real Madrid forward Kylian Mbappe will not be part of the French squad to face Israel and Italy in Nations League games. The 25-year-old superstar was not part of the squad last month either, citing fitness reasons, prompting controversy and criticism towards him. Now Mbappe has been left out of the French squad once again. Mbappe happens to be the captain of the French national team. However, he has been struggling to make an impact at Real Madrid, which might have played a role in his exclusion from the squad. The president of the Peruvian Football Federation, Agustin Lozano, was arrested on Thursday as part of an investigation into alleged money laundering and fraud during his tenure at the helm of the sports organization. Lozano is the second Peruvian soccer boss to be detained since 2018, when his predecessor was investigated for his alleged role in 2 murders, for which he was later absolved. Lozano had been under investigation for over a year, even though he has not been criminally charged so far. Authorities said they ordered his arrest because they deemed he is a flight risk and could obstruct their investigation. The top 2 Serie A sides, Napoli and Inter Milan, who are separated by 1 point after the last round of games, are set to clash this weekend. Inter lessened the gap to the leaders when they beat Venezia 1-0 on Sunday after Napoli was shocked in a 3-0 home defeat by Champions League side Atalanta earlier that day. Last weekend's defeat was a hard pill to swallow for Napoli coach Antonio Conte, as he lost a Serie A home game as a manager by a margin of 3 goals for only the second time in his career. Atalanta moved up to 3rd with 22 points, 3 behind Napoli, who they upset last time to clinch their 5th consecutive league win. Defending champion Iga Swiatek thumped Russia's Daria Kasatkina 6-1, 6-0 at the WTA finals. Polish second seed Swiatek thrashed Kasatkina, who replaced the injured Jessica Pegula on Wednesday in only 51 minutes at the end of season event in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. She won an extraordinary 51 of 74 points and broke Kasatkina's serve 5 of 6 times. 5-time major champion Swiatek beat Krejcikova and lost to Gauff in her first 2 group matches. Swiatek's form has dipped in recent months, with Wim Fissette replacing Tomasz Wiktorowski as her coach 2 weeks ago. Hundreds of people, including Senegal's president, attend the opening ceremony of the latest edition of the Dakar Biennale African Contemporary Art Exhibition, also known as Dakar, underscoring the resilience and creativity of African culture, offering a platform that celebrates both tradition and innovation in African arts. that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do share your thoughts with us on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. This is Munmun Bhattacharya from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.